Welcome into the second edition of the Garden Set and regular season edition of the Garden Report with look what I've got. I've got a little Bobby Manning action in a suit at the Garden. I got Josue Pavon at the Garden. Soon we're gonna have Sherrod Blakely at the Garden, and
Wow.
I'm running with you guys versus the team we saw on the floor. I like this team.
That couch
Better.
looks comfortable though. That looks nice, bro.
Oh, it's so nice. Just wanna lay down. I was third quarter was very close to nap time. I'll tell you.
Yeah, I was
guys.
gonna say, did you fade? Did you doze off for a bit?
I didn't want to be part of this anymore, and I'm sure a lot of other people didn't either. So I'll
So
defer to.
can we just
It's
say what
ugly for a
everybody's
lot of
thinking?
ways. I'll defer to you guys. Go ahead. Overreactions go.
Well, what everybody's thinking right now in the chat, in these stands, all over the place. This was the exact same Celtics you saw as last year. Like
But
they're
worse.
within.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was worse.
Yeah.
The matchups were worse, as we'll get into, especially with this opponent here. But the way they managed runs, the way they dealt with officials, which is something I'm really going to dig into tonight, and when they just drew a little bit of momentum and a play went the other way, they would just fade. And they faded more and more and more until
Right.
and it got to 20 at that point by the end of the third quarter. So it's just so reminiscent of last year. It was almost shocking to watch, especially with the boos raining from the crowd.
Reminiscent in style, but older and slower and less athletic. I mean, that's what stuck out to me too. The Toronto looked like they were a class above, athletically speaking, than the Celtics. The Celtics were just stuck
And they're
in
very
mud.
athletic. They are.
And they're long, they're athletic, and teams like that can give the Celtics problems. But that's what stuck out to me here was Celtics were getting eaten up every time they tried to go anywhere. They were letting people just kind of run through the lane. Obviously, the second chance points, the offensive rebounds, it just looked like they didn't belong on the floor. And I'm not doing the tired excuse thing. I'm not allowing that because the Knicks played. It's the second game of the year.
Tired.
It's the second game of the year. You had two fresh bodies here who didn't play on night one. The Knicks also played a double overtime game, and they went in there and friggin', drilled at Orlando, which isn't, they're not great by any means, but like, I don't want to hear it. Everyone's playing 2 games in 3 nights.
Right.
That's just the NBA, life of the NBA.
Yeah, we can put that to sleep right now.
So I don't want to hear,
guys,
they played a double overtime game to start the season. That one, immediately throw that one out if anyone's going to try that. This was an alarming loss, Josue.
That's the reason they got the day off, right? I mean, that's the reason Ime gave them that day off.
And they didn't want to talk about China. Yeah.
Well, probably a little bit of that, but also I think it's a win-win for everyone involved, right?
Don't
just get a day
talk
off.
about China.
And that's just like, let's just get a day off, coach. All right, let's get a day off.
Did we just get pulled off the internet in China?
But no, Don, I'm with you.
I haven't seen many.
That's the one thing that stood out to me. I mean, throughout the course of the entire first half, I'm like, this team is quicker. They're more athletic. The continuity just seemed like, on the defensive end, right? And the Celtics they couldn't keep it together. I mean, to commit that many turnovers before halftime, to commit, 24 turnovers, which is, I believe, is the most since 2014, which was Brad Stevens' first season with the Celtics. Like, that team.
Live ball turnovers, too. Yeah, you see the points here. They were scoring on most of these. It was passes in the lane, one to Fred VanVleet that went right to OG during the big first half run. And then but to begin that fourth quarter, I know the Celtics were down 20, but again, Schroeder throwing right to a guy along the corner there. Brown doing the same thing. And Horford even just throwing it right into a crowd of Raptors. That's the one thing you can't do against this team. And they probably knew that coming in because this team's long at every position. They're almost like the Bucks, those early Bucks teams with Giannis, where they have, almost 7-foot wingspans across the board there, and they're just throwing passes right into guys' length wingspan there. And that's what got the Raptors going. The Raptors shot 35% in the first half. They didn't do anything offensively.
That's what I was going to
in this
say.
game.
I was literally going to get into that. I'm like,
they're a terrible offense in the half court, and you just handed them transition runs.
Let's hear this one, by the way, real quick. This is Ime Udoka. I don't have I'm just going to read it. Ime Udoka in his presser a short while ago, and this is not what you want on night 2. We didn't come with any energy or effort in the first half, then added, as later on in the quote, it was a point of emphasis at halftime to pick it up and fight harder, and it went the other way. So, I mean, we were talking about.
I got another one too.
We're talking about tuning out Brad. They're tuning out Ime on night 2. Oh my God! Go ahead, Josue.
New York. This is a quote from Ime. New York went and beat Orlando. It's no excuse on our part. So he did that right away.
Oh yeah, bingo, right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was just saying. Like, we don't want to hear that for sure.
Right. So the double overtime thing, he's not trying to hear that at all.
Right, but I mean, already you got Ime saying we didn't try on like the day one, like moment 1, night 2 at home opener. That's depressing. That's a dead ass team. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And that's the thing. This is exactly what we were talking about a couple nights ago, where I don't want this team to get back into this habit where they revert to being their old selves in the second half, right? When things are down or when they're in panic mode, to go the other way. But at least in this one, at least in New York, they didn't go into that mode until the fourth quarter. In this one, I felt like we started by halftime. You know,
I want to ask you this, Josue.
When they committed 12 turnovers, going into the halftime, and then they resort to jacking up threes. Josh Richardson, who was perfect, 3 for 3, and then you have other guys just chucking them.
As we try to find the root of that lack of energy, looking back on this game and all that, I point to something you talk about a lot, Josue. After 46 points against New York, what happens to Brown in this one? Comes out 4 shot attempts in the first half, completely boxed out of the offense, uninvolved. Falling on the perimeter as Tatum chases those mismatches and Smart jacks up shots and turns the ball over. And all of a sudden, Brown's third, maybe lower on that depth chart in favor of a guy like Josh Richardson coming in for to shoot some threes and, Al Horford getting some ball time. And Brown just looked lost out there in the offense early on in the second half.
I don't get that at all.
Didn't do much to make up for it. He was taking bad shots in that second half.
Yeah. Everything. I don't get it at all.
And is that where the lack of energy comes from? Not getting your shots on offense, and all of a sudden you're not doing what you need to do within the flow of the offense? Because, the defense wasn't bad tonight. We talked about how they held it down. They just getting back in transition.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. Because, again,
in the half court, it was fine.
Right. Half court, no, you're right. Half court was fine, not outstanding. And transition was terrible, for sure. But and then obviously all of the second chance stuff as well. But it was
the rebounding was so bad. And is there anything more effort based than that?
That's what I mean is like you look at effort stats, turnovers is lack of focus, lack of effort, second chance points, offensive rebounding. Those are lack of effort. Those are effort stats. They just got they just got beat. They beat 50-50 balls, every single ball that would get slapped at in the lane. Toronto would come away with it. I mean, it wasn't even close. All of those effort energy stats, every single thing went Toronto's way. It was really bad. And it was really bad. Ime's even saying,
what takes extra energy
team
as well?
deserved to get booed. Go ahead. What's up, Josue?
On game 2. That's quite a quote.
The team deserves to get booed.
Another thing that stood out to me again from last year, same sort of pattern, the effort on the other side, which is Toronto tonight, 58 points in the paint.
Yep.
Like, that's the kind of recipe where if you're the Celtics team and the offense is stagnant, like, you're giving yourself zero chance, right? And at the end of this one, you're going plus, 22 or 25 turnovers? Like, there's no way you have a chance to even. You're not giving yourself a chance to win this game.
Yeah. It's strange.
And can we get to the most frustrating part of this early? The obsession over the calls, the officiating, the team just completely losing itself in that third quarter over a stupid offensive foul call.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? And to look at Ime and his culpability in this game, left Tatum in there to sulk and complain and stare down officials and sit in the backcourt for 4 possessions after that call. A crowd of Celtics surrounded the official at half court. Ime's complaining. Whatever happened to the no complaining rule?
Bobby, are you part of the Bull Gang?
I'm mute.
Hold on. Let me just see how bad this is.
Yeah, you muted me. I was like, no, Bobby's the one next to all that noise.
Oh, my God. It's so bad, Bobby. I just muted you. Holy crap, is that bad? I don't know what to do. I don't even know where to go.
The back rows.
This is a tough one to like spend a lot of time on, because what you want to do is flush it, see another game, hope that this was an aberration. It is hard to not press a little bit of a panic meter, here. So where are you guys on the panic scale right now? After this,
I mean,
this is
this team doesn't have a whole lot of.
Yeah,
they don't
go ahead,
have.
Josue.
They don't have a whole lot. Yeah. I was going to say, given that these guys don't have a whole lot of home games out of the gate, I'm a bit concerned that in the short term, it could get ugly. It could get ugly before it gets better.
The stretch can make or break
that doesn't
them
bode
early,
well
right?
for these guys. Not having those home games. Yeah,
I'm pretty worried about Ime right now. Not because I don't think he's necessarily doing a bad. Not because he's doing a bad job. Because as a new coach, whatever you need, you need some success and you need buy-in. And to have a team, what did we say? Look, we spent how much of last year, and I'm going to bring in Sherrod here too. Sherrod, we just started talking about Ime a little bit here. We were just talking about our level of concern, and I want your thoughts here on the game as well. But one of my levels of concern is to lay down like this in Ime's second game, have him going out in the press conference right now and talking about lack of effort. We got punked. We deserve to get booed. I told these guys they needed to come out stronger in the second half, and they didn't. We spent all of last year saying the Celtics are quitting on Brad Stevens. They're not playing hard for him. And then they go out and they do the same exact thing on night 2 in your home opener to Ime Udoka is really concerning for me.
It should be. I mean, this is certainly not, forget about the score. It's the actual level of impact and effort, or lack of that, I should say, that we saw that's disturbing and concerning. And if you're Ime, this is not what you bought into. This is not why you came here. And again, I think it comes back to leadership. It's been a big question mark with this team. The talent is not an issue. It's who's going to be galvanizing that talent. And they need to figure that out, because this Toronto team is not that good. They're just not. And they got their asses smashed by a team that's not that good at home in the first game of the season. Lots of red flags this game. Without question.
Yeah. And that's it. It's the and I don't want people in the chat to mistake it. I'm not saying, oh my God, fire Ime, he's the wrong guy for the job. I'm saying the fact that they came out here and played this poorly and put in such a bad effort, such lack of focus, and did all of the things they didn't want to do, which is we're sloppy, not taking care of the ball, complaining a little bit to the refs there, as we saw in that third quarter. And a question, Sherrod, break a tie here, because we're not exactly sure. Do you think Tatum got put on the bench for a little bit of time for getting upset about a call, or that was part of a regular rotation there?
It felt like it was part of the regular rotation, because I thought he was in there his normal stint, and that was pretty close to about the time that
that's
he
what I thought, but it wasn't clear at the time. So I was curious if, like, you guys in the arena saw anything happen, him come off, a body language thing, them talk, anything looked like it, or it was just a regular sub out?
No, I thought it was a regular sub out. I do know at one point, though, when he was coming off the floor during a timeout, he was trying to have a conversation with one of the officials, and Ime was just like, no, come over here. So again, this team, this is not the way this thing's supposed to start. Forget about the record. It's the way they're playing. That's the disturbing thing, not the record.
Yeah, that's what I think too. And you know what? What did we say about game 1? Okay, a little bit of the same in terms of habits, in terms of, falling into some of your patterns with the style of basketball, but the effort seemed pretty good in game 1. I felt like that you can't say the same thing in game 2.
No, this was a step back, without question, in terms of effort. I mean, they were better in New York. There's no doubt about that. But Toronto they're one of those teams that presents a lot of different challenges because of their length. They're one of the longer teams that they'll face, but you still have to find a way to get over that. I mean, this is a game they should have won, and they know that. Effort was a big part of why they got smashed.
The rookie brought it to them, Sherrod. You had a guy like Scotty Barnes going after them in
lit
transition
him up.
and
25.
hunting his shots. 6-9 start. This is a guy who can't even shoot, who's just getting to his spots and confidently attacking this defense. And guys like him set a physical tone in this game. Precious Achiuwa certainly too with the runouts. I mean, no one was trying to compete with him on the break.
Scotty Barnes came out here thinking he was Scottie Pippen, the way he was just absolutely having his way, getting to his spots, finishing at the rim, playing as if the Celtics were just another team that he could easily do anything and everything with, and that should not happen. No rookie, let alone a Scotty Barnes, as you pointed out, Bobby, not a very good shooter, should come in and play with that kind of confidence, that kind of swagger, and back it all up, everything he.
Oh my God, he's woofing, and throwing it down right
in the crowd. I mean,
taking it down the lane and just, oh my God, is that embarrassing? Here's a clip from Ime calling out the team.
That's the part that
bothers. I said that to the group.
Out there.
That's as ugly as it could get. One thing I can't stand as a coach is to get punked out there, and I felt they basically came out and punked us, outplayed us, played harder than us, all the things we talked about. So, you don't want to overreact and panic, and we're going to stay together and keep our head up. But I said use these boos as motivation. We deserved it, the way we played, and us coaches didn't prepare them as well as we should have, understanding who Toronto is. Doesn't matter who they have on their team, on the roster, they're going to play with the same intensity, and we didn't match it. So take it in, use it for motivation, and come back ready for Houston in a few days.
Okay.
I like it. I like the accountability there.
He says don't panic. Sherrod, are you panicked?
No, I'm not panicked. I mean, I'm concerned. I'm very concerned. But it's for one thing, it's too damn early in the season to panic. I mean, there's just way too much runway left in the season to worry about that. But I am concerned that we're 2 games into the season and we're already having a conversation about effort. That should not happen. I don't care if you play a quadruple overtime game tonight and then have to play 10 minutes later. Effort should not be the talking point, and it is. There's no getting around that.
Yeah. All right, let's go. Let's look at some individual efforts, because collectively it was overall bad. And I think somebody who we're going to put in the crosshairs, I think, and fairly, justifiably so, is Marcus Smart again. I think off a so-so performance in the first game, or a very inconsistent one. This was a total freaking dud.
Yeah, it was. Especially when he started going with the turnovers. I feel like he was unsure of himself at times in transition, especially with that. I used to think, or at least tonight it wasn't the case, but normally he's pretty comfortable in that situation in terms of just moving the ball and whether it means attacking the rim. And I saw him doing a little bit of that in the beginning, but then it just got sloppy, and it's okay. Like, we know this new role is not the same, right, compared to the guy he's been asked to be his entire career. So, I mean, I'm not.
Yeah, 5 for 20 to start this year. No shots
I think Josue puts Brockton Wi-Fi in his pocket and just walks around with it. Like,
totally does.
You guys are in the same.
We're melting down.
You're in the same friggin' building.
It's Josue. It is absolutely him. But listen, just to pick up where he was talking about Smart. I mean, I understand that he's in a different role, but that to me, it's irrelevant. Your role is what it is. You'd be the best version of that.
To be a good basketball player.
Yeah, that's what it always comes back to. Just be good in the role that you're given to play, and let the chips fall where they may. And he wasn't. He wasn't good at all.
Yeah, and if he's going to be a creator, he's got to find ways to score within the arc. It's nothing's coming from within the 3-point arc for him right now. He's just that launcher, that chucker behind the 3-point line, which when he was in wing roles alongside other point guards, you could stomach to some degree, because that's where he's going to find his shots off those guys. Now he has to create and leverage space on the floor and opportunities for others with driving kicks and stuff. And you saw him do a little bit of it. But overall, he just commanded the floor like we've seen him do in the past. I was so excited to see him just embrace this role that he has right now. And you saw that shot on the right wing, I'm sure, Sherrod, the deep 3, where the crowd just kind of went, like one boo let out. I heard one boo, but mostly it was just, and the approach so far from him has been a reason I feel they're so disconnected. They need someone to orchestrate the floor right now, to be in full control of what they're doing on offense.
Yeah, look, what are they doing on offense?
There's nobody.
What is the offense right now? What are they?
Fast break. It's all they got. Fast break is all they have right now.
What is going on in the half court?
Because they're getting great shots in half court. I mean, I think Ime said before the game, he talked about just the number of open looks that Tatum had and the real crapper that he had in New York. And you think the law of averages will even out to where Tatum's going to make most of those shots because he's that good. But Jalen, it was as if him and Jason, and they had like a body swap in this game where, Tatum was the one that really kind of had a nice flow, nice rhythm early on. And then I thought they kind of went away from him, and Jalen could never really get into any kind of flow.
I see people getting into the coach in the comments, and I do think it's justified because you've seen 2 miscalculations from him in terms of game plans. Switching everything against Randall was an absolute
playing
disaster
really small
in
this game was a disaster.
Going small, but also trying to attack mismatches so directly the way they did. I know Tatum had great success against Van Fleet early, but that's a guy who's strong, who holds his own. You can't push him inside. So Tatum was taking a lot of shots over him, and he was hitting them early, and that went away later in the game. And there's other guys who you can attack off switches on that Toronto team because they're strong, they're long, they're active on defense. This Toronto team, I think they're going to be one of the worst offenses in the league, but they're going to be one of the best defenses in the league. And it's almost like the Celtics came in expecting to score against them with ease because they're smaller. They don't have 7-footers. They don't have a true rim protector. But all of those guys can step out on the perimeter and disrupt plays, and Precious did it. Even the smaller guys did it, but especially Scotty Barnes and OG.
I mean, and you do have to talk about, I know the starters are going to get the freight here because you expect them to have a better overall effort. The Celtics bench was atrocious. I mean, you had a good effort, I thought, from Richardson. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, I can't. I mean, he was the one bright spot. He did the one thing that he's been challenged to do a better job of, and that's knock down shots, and he did that. I thought Dennis was not good at all. I thought, my guy Romeo. I'm still going to keep my Romeo stock. I am not selling the Romeo stock, but this was not one of his better.
Sloppy with the ball. He looked like he'd put it on the
he fumbled
ground.
Those 2 passes underneath. The Celtics were just careless and with ball control here.
And then
Another thing from last year.
Bobby, we got to point out Peyton Pritchard, 16 minutes minus 30 in this game.
Is it the mask?
I mean,
no,
look, this
don't
is bad.
do that. It's not the mask.
Bad matchup for him with the team.
No, his defense is undermining him, and that's what I said. That's the only way
is killing him.
they're going to be able to get him on the floor is if they can protect him defensively.
A team with
now,
this
they're
kind
not
of length
enough on the floor.
No.
Toronto, I mean, I give Toronto credit. When Peyton was out there, they were patient enough to get that matchup where around the basket where there was nothing he could do. There's just, I mean, he's 6 foot maybe, and you've got Scotty Barnes, or you've got OG, or you've got a much bigger, more physical, imposing presence that you got switched out on. There's nothing you can do about that.
So I'm not panicking either, like Sherrod, but there are just so many concerning
red flags.
now. Yeah,
a lot of them.
I just all the complaining in this game was a huge visual for me. Throughout preseason and even these 2 games, the staring at each other, arm pointing, where are you on this defensive assignment? Where are you? Blah, blah, blah. Offensive sets getting lost where the coach can't communicate through Brown to Smart on the other side. The communication looks like it's a bit jumbled and scrambled right now, and guys are in the wrong spots and they're getting lost. It's
so much more important when you're switching everything to communicate because you literally have to be on a string, and if that string is frayed already, it's going to snap and break, and your defense is going to have breakdowns like we've seen in these first couple of games, which is why me personally, I prefer guard your yard. If you've got a man that you're supposed to defend, you stick with him. The whole switching, I've always thought switching allows your defense to not be all that it can be, because you know that if a guy sets a screen and you lose the man you're attached to, there's someone who's supposed to bail you out. But I think it's too easy to switch when you know that's part of your plan.
Josue said this before he left and you came on, and I do think it's an interesting factor here as they try to work through this is how much they're going to be on the road to start this year. I think it's 7 of 13 or something like that on the road, or maybe 7 out of 10, I believe it is. They're not going to be home much. They're going to be on the road together a lot, and that's one of those kind of things that can make or break you chemistry-wise, because I feel like there's there's gaps between certain guys on the floor right now, and they just need to become more connected as a team right now. Especially, I see Smart and Schroeder. Those are two guys, I think, on the defensive end that are really trying to find themselves. And Schroeder said in preseason he's never had to switch this much in his career, and it's been a struggle for him early on. And
you can
Smart's
tell.
getting very frustrated with that.
Yeah, you can absolutely tell. I mean, to me, the teams are looking at film and watching, okay, if we just swing the ball, we're going to get a great shot at the rim. We just need to be patient. And that's what we've seen the first couple of games. You look at the points in the paint, they are getting their asses killed in points in the paint. And it's not guys just taking up camp, scoring at the rim. It's just ball movement, and the ball eventually finding itself within the paint, and they're finishing. That's all.
And why is the rebounding so bad against a team like this? You have height, you have size inside. There was just no boxing out. There was no clear outs. There was no positioning.
Who boxes
on the floor.
out, Bobby? Jeez.
Well, you got it again.
What are we in
like
high
this.
school?
They gave up 15 offensive rebounds in the first half. Where you just keep letting it bounce back to them. I mean, there was just no adjustment, no punch back. You'd see 6 points in a burst maybe, and then it would just go back the other way. And I thought the play that showed that most was when Rob blocked Fred VanVleet at the three-point line there. It bounced right back to VanVleet, and he just hit a three right next to him. And that's pretty much how this game went. Again, it's not like some of these points in a 32-point loss go on to the next night. They're playing a pretty young, inexperienced Rockets team, and I don't think the schedule is extremely hard in the early going here. But again, they got back-to-back with the Wizards. The Wizards are a team that's going to light you up if you're not positioned defensively.
The same. I mean, this is the same Wizards team that just lit Toronto up in the opener.
Indiana early on, I think, too. I mean,
that's the thing.
There's not many easy games in the East this year.
That's the whole point, is there's not enough talent on this roster to lay down. And that was the case last year. And that's why something like this is a concern.
And you know what sticks out to me, too? In a game like this, stylistically, where maybe they're a little too big at the 4 and the 5 to match up with a wing-heavy team, and Toronto style dictates the pace of this game more than Boston's. The Celtics don't have that extra wing right now. It's not Romeo. He can give them some okay minutes, but you don't have that steady, consistent two-way wing. Like, Semi gave you some minutes in that regard last year. Fournier came in later in the season and gave them something in that role. Richardson, I mean, I know he hit some threes out there today and had a good game overall, but is that going to be your guy, your 30-minute-a-night guy in a game like this? I'm still not so sure, especially since he doesn't bring wing size. He doesn't have, 6'7", 6'8", 6'9" size at that position like they've had in the past.
No, not at all. That's a problem, I think. That's a problem.
Just like last year, they're going to address it with the TPE. We're going to start looking around, seeing who's out there in that regard.
I don't know. I mean, is this the type of team that's going to need 30 and 30 from Jason and Jalen every single night in order to be competitive offensively? I don't know where else it's coming from at this point.
Yeah,
I don't know where
what happened with Jalen?
I don't know where
Jalen go,
Sherrod?
Yeah. He was just quiet. Where did Jalen go after the 46?
Well, look, I mean, you first of all, you're coming out of COVID protocol. You dropped 46, and I'm not expecting you to drop 46 the next game. He missed a lot of shots that he made the other night, but again, law of averages says that he was going to have a game like this more likely than not. I mean, you look at his numbers tonight, and you look at it, pack them together with what he did in New York, and he's off to a good start. But obviously, he's got to be more consistent. Tatum has to be more consistent, and they have to be more competitive. I mean, at some point, you can't just get out effort consistent. You got to play harder, and you know that. And the sad part is you have a coach who emphasizes that. And
that's all there was to this game, too. It was just effort. It was just fortitude.
You could tell that they're and again, this is a worry with this team dating back to last year. They definitely get discouraged when their shots aren't falling. And rather than dig in on defense and say, I'm gonna make it up here, they go in the other direction where they just get frustrated, and then it affects them on both ends of the floor. And then the next time down, they just start chucking, or they take poor quality shots instead of working harder. That's the thing, is when faced with adversity, okay, our shit's not dropping right now, they kind of go in the other direction with it. And
that discourages them, but more so is the calls, and that's what drove me craziest about this game. I thought that was the story of the third. They missed the offensive or whatever you want to say about that call on Tatum on the offensive foul. He goes down the court 3 more times in a row, shoots one off the shot clock, staring at the ref, going back, motioning at his hip. It's just all he's thinking about for 3-4 straight possessions after that are the calls, how he's getting treated by the officials in the lane, and they're just ignoring him in there. And it's what Ime said. If you're just complaining, play in and play out, you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt in those spots. And I thought Ime should have benched him immediately after that. If you were going to stay true to the rule, if you were going to do this thing to Grant Williams in the preseason, you have to do it to Jason Tatum in the first regular season game at home, or it's useless.
We're going right back to our bold predictions from before the season. That was one of mine. And I really wrote that as much because I was curious to see if it happened rather than I was certain that it would, because that was as I wrote, your rubber meets the road moment. Like you talk the talk, will you walk the walk? If you have a superstar who's chirping and getting pissed off at the refs, do you pull him out? I still don't know whether or not part of that substitution had something to do with that or not, but it was not a demonstrative thing. It wasn't a yank. It wasn't a whatever. So I don't know. It's hard to say there, but again, the things that Ime talked about as a point of emphasis, you've got things going sideways on him pretty quickly in the season. So again, that's why my number one concern here is really cutting the legs out from your coach. You go out and you put another, really bad performance. You string a couple of these together early going. Then people start to second guess him. Does he have control of the team? Does he know what he's doing? What happens when the veterans start talking to each other and say, this style of defense isn't going to work for us? He's not coaching us. He's not, what happens when the players start wondering whether or not he understands his personnel? We were here. We know what works. This isn't working. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I definitely get worried about that with a brand new coach.
Well, considering they're coming off a season when they were a 500 club, they're not in position to say anything because, I mean, what you reached the Mendoza line and now you think you're the shit? No. I mean, I think it's for them. And again, it's way too early for them to kind of go into that mode. But John, you're right. I mean, it is possible, particularly when you have a couple of games like this where one game you put up great effort and come up short, and then you come back, follow that up with a lackluster game from an effort standpoint.
I heard this on the radio earlier, and it was pretty jarring. Since that OG shot in the bubble, I believe the team after this loss is now 9 games under 500. I think that was what it was, with the loss added in today. And it's pretty startling. They were under 500 last year. They obviously lost 2-4 in that playoff series, and now 0-2 to start this year. Some things have changed, players, a coach now. But some things have just remained the same, and that's really the story of this game for me, is just how similar this looked to last year. The boos, the lack of urgency, and just commitment to defense, the movement on offense that they couldn't find. It just looked exactly like one of the Spurs game where they're booing them into the locker room at halftime, or one of the other million games where they went down by double digits early. The New York game wasn't like that. They set a good tone with the fast break. I thought they stayed true to that throughout much of that game. And then obviously they had a massive comeback late where they executed great and played awesome pressure defense. But that too had some degree of what we saw last year where they'd scramble back in the final minutes and try to do everything in the last 2 or 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. So just so many things that look like last year so far for me through 2 games. And the preseason looks so different.
What's this team good at?
That's a good question. It's not shot making. It's not rebounding. It's not transition defense.
Wasn't half-court defense in the New York game.
I mean, 2 games. It's a legit question. Like, what are they good at?
What are they good at? What's the identity?
What's their calling card?
What's the calling card? What are they good at? And this was my thing with Brad's team last year, and this is why the similarities between the two are a little bit alarming to me. And again, it's not full panic button, but again, what was the calling card last year? I'm not really sure. I don't know what this team is. I don't know what their identity is supposed to be. If you are, again, I think they start going back to last year, like a team that believes they have more talent than they actually do, as opposed to a team that recognizes we gotta play like dogs every single night.
Front runners.
Their
Like
identity,
front runners.
Right. They play like front runners. And then this is why, again, Bobby, I know you're saying the calls. I'm going back to the shots. I think this is a thing going back to last year. I know they get bummed with the refs too, but I think they're part and parcel. I think they get frustrated so easily when stuff doesn't happen that they don't put in effort to fix the problem. They just go back. They go in the other direction.
I thought that's what happened with Brown tonight.
And they are front runners in that regard. And so that always kills you. Is great. It is fine and good when the shots that aren't hard to get, which is your jumpers, from all over the place, fall, and you have a hot shooting night and you feel really good about yourself. That's great. But when it's not, what are you going to do to make up for it? And it seems like nothing in this case. And tonight, nothing. They just got frustrated, and that's it. So if your calling card has to be effort. You've got to be. If you don't have the talent, your calling card has to be the effort, has to be defensive effort, has to be a nasty defensive identity. Because this was the worry with this team. They might not be that good at scoring, so they're going to have to play, really, really, really gritty defense. I don't know. I don't really know what it is right now. I don't know what this team is supposed to be. I don't know what they're supposed to be good at.
And contrast that against.
I think. Yeah, going into the season, what did we say? They have to be a top 10 defense. I don't think we were exaggerating, right? If they want to be a team that actually has a shot to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals or make a deep playoff run, they have to be a team that's known for their defense. And I think that they may have pieces for that, but they have to be fully committed. It's got to be from top to bottom, whether we're talking the entire rotation or just a starting five. I just feel like, look, the fact that the Toronto Raptors, they got 100 attempts out there. I mean, I just don't think that this is that kind of team. But again, when a team is all in on the defense, these are the results you get, right? I mean, yeah, Scotty Barnes had 25, but normally, Van Fleet will put up 20 on a given night, but he was cold tonight, And you
think about what John just said in terms of overcoming deficiencies. Look at that Raptors roster. They don't have a great point guard. They don't have their main scorer in Siakam tonight. They don't have much of anything in the offense, and they made up for it with runouts, deflections, just a large amount of energy on defense that turned into offense. And they built that into, 100-something points and an 83-point defensive effort.
42 for 100 from the floor.
Let's put it back on the stars here. And again, you're talking about leaders and you're talking about leading by example. You guys feel you got the effort you needed out of Tatum and Brown? Brown, to me, got frustrated because things weren't falling for him. You'll always give a little pass there because you don't know breathing and this and that, what's going on behind the scenes there. So I don't want to do it there, but I'm going to go Tatum again. Just was like, this game's not going our way, and basically stopped playing in the second half. I don't get that. Because he had some things going for him in the first half, and he was playing a fairly well-rounded game. He was playing decent defense. He made a couple of nice passes. The shot was falling. It was, he was scoring.
He responded too after that missed call and really dug in deep on a defensive play and blocked OG at the net. That was the best defense I've seen him play maybe the last 2 years. And after that, when other calls didn't go his way, that's when he got pulled from the game. But I am digging in on Brown. If you're not getting the looks early on, you just kind of fade out of the game and
he just don't do much on either end. You can't do
that.
Does
that all the time.
Josue talks about that all the time.
Josue talks about it.
Man. Yeah.
But Josue, sometimes you talk about it like they forget about him. But I don't know whether he's just like, I'm just going to stand here. If they give me the ball, great. And if not, whatever. I don't know what happens.
Why doesn't he find the ball on defense?
I think it's a little bit of both, honestly.
Yeah.
And there's instances where, at least this was last year. We saw it a couple nights ago. Not so much tonight, but that's when you get that Marcus. Oh, you want to be shy? Okay. I'm never shy, man. You know what I mean? That's exactly what we usually see. And, last a couple days ago, that was the Marcus we saw. You take the good with the bad, and with that good was a shot that tied the game up and allowed it to go into double overtime. But, to your point, what you said earlier, John, about do these guys have to put up 30 every single night? I mean, one of them has to,
Who's the guy?
I think we knew that.
Who's that guy on the team who's like, wait a second, I don't like the way this is going, and then puts their stamp on the game?
Al Horford. Al Horford did his best.
But where is that? Like, if again, I always use the example, pretend you know nothing about this team and you were watching them in the third quarter and you've watched them for the first time ever. Could you tell watching them who the alpha was supposed to be, who that team's star is, who's going to come out and be that guy to say, get out of my way? Like with other teams, I feel like you don't have that question. And having your stars drift in and out of, whether it's Tatum not taking a shot for the first 15 minutes of a game, which he does sometimes, or Brown completely disappearing for this one. It's weird to have moments where your best players are not really doing anything, particularly at a time.
It's my turn, your turn.
When everything is falling apart around them, you know?
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's so weird
no
to
commitment.
me. Yeah.
No commitment on defense. You know, I thought their approach in some of their possessions was just off. I mean, 5 turnovers from Brown, from Jalen, 5 turnovers from Tatum. You know, I don't want to say that it was one of those where he's just dribbling out of control. I just thought that in some instances, Toronto was second guessing their passes. You know, there was one pass where they purposely trapped Smart to put him in a situation where he couldn't score from the baseline or get a clear pass off, and he left his feet. You know, and he did that a couple of times, and you know, that's just not the recipe that, you know, for a team that's going to be this running gun and fast break offense. That's what's going to kill you if you're not one of those defensive juggernauts in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, they got to find like, I mean, you need a Butler. You need somebody.
I don't know.
You need someone.
To say, but I think Toronto's one of the top defenses in the East. I mean, they look really good on defense. They look really
John,
good.
this can either be a good thing or a bad thing, but they're going to need so much Horford this year. And he wasn't able to do it today because he was on a minutes limit. Yeah. But when he got out there and set some tones on defense and threw those outlet passes, those were the only times the Celtics showed life in this one. He blocked 6 shots in like 3 quarters, made a bunch of great passes, got on the boards. He was the best Celtic out there tonight, and they're going to have to empower him as a point guard often, I believe. They're going to have to play in that center.
Bobby, are we there?
Yes,
I mean, are we at the Al Horford is our point guard portion of the season?
In terms of what they need as a team right now, like he provides so much, and you just hope he's going to be able to.
Look what you've done. Look what you did to Sherrod.
Look what you're doing to Sherrod. Exactly.
Hey, the tape speaks for itself tonight. 11-11, 6 blocks in this game.
Yeah, he looked like 2016, 2017 Al.
Who's got a bigger agenda, me with Rob or Bobby with Horford?
Hey. Bobby with Horford. I'm not. There's no hesitation, as you can tell, in my opinion on that one. I love what Al did tonight, and I think it's going to be something they're going to need. But the idea of him being more and more and more of a facilitator in the transition game bothers me, because I think from time to time it's a good thing, but if I'm relying on him to kind of be my offensive initiator, we got problems. We got big problems because that's not where I think he can be most impactful offensively. I like him in the half-court set where he's got the ball in a block, forcing the defense to adjust to what he's going to do, because he can either score or he can pass. But when I'm asking him to bring the ball down, play half-court point guard, Al isn't built for that anymore. He can't do that for like 25, 30, 35 minutes.
That's the problem.
And it's not fair to him to ask him to do that.
He brings what they need, but he's not at the point in his career where he can do that at the scale that they need it right now.
I love when Al will take like a 90-second spurt where he'll grab a rebound, he'll go coast to coast, he'll get an and one, he'll come back, he'll force a turnover, and then next thing you know, you just went on like a little 6-7 spurt. And that's, look, I'm good.
So let's compare that to Rob, and you'll like this, John, because
Rob. And by the way, we I don't know if you guys talked about Rob before I came on, but the athleticism was real tonight.
Oh, he was so good again.
It was back, John.
No, guys, it's at about 65 to 70%. It's not even close. I don't think you guys remember.
Is it fair
you do not remember what he looked like last year, guys.
I do. He looks like a smarter player now.
It's not. Smarter player means it's still in reserve if you need it. I went back and I looked and I freeze framed that alley-oop where everyone is like the one that almost dunked it. And everyone's like, oh, that would have been amazing. And I looked where he was. Okay, we have video evidence of Robert Williams' head above the rim last year, okay? He went up for that one, and he was this far, his head was this far below the rim. He wasn't even close. He's literally a foot less on his vertical right now. It is not even close. He had moments. He's not jumping at all. He had another one where he from a standing position, he cannot get off the ground yet, guys. He still can't do it. He had another one where he rim rattled the dunk, and he couldn't get it up and over. He had a couple of moments.
That was a momentum killer when that happened.
There were a couple of moments that were better, but like I said, I went back to look. I was like, where was he on that? He wasn't even close. It looked big because his arm was back here. His head was this far below the rim. Last year, he was up and over on those things. I mean, like I tweeted it. They threw that lob to last season's Rob, and he didn't get it. Last season's Rob throws that thing down with his teeth.
Yeah, but last season, Roberts probably got 4 fouls in the first 8 minutes he's on the court, too.
Which is fine, but here's the thing. This is the conversation you have a lot of times, Sherrod. You hear people say it when a pitcher loses his velocity, and they're like, you don't need 98. Sure, if you're awesome at everything else, maybe not. But 98 friggin' helps. Rob's not throwing 98 right now. The rest of his game isn't refined enough to completely make up for that. He needs both elements. He needs to play smart, do his crafty things. He's still got phenomenal hands. He had that nice little catch alley-oop. He's still quick hands around the rim and getting those rebounds. He's just not explosive yet right now. It's still not the same. It's a little better, but he's not all the way back.
Well, I agree. He's not all the way back, but I do like the fact that when you look at where he was in the preseason, you look at the first game, you look at the second game, he is trending in that direction.
He's active.
Not there yet, but he's looking more like that over athletic Rob that we've seen before. He may not get there at all this season, but at least at this point, he's trending in that direction, which to me is that's what I want to see.
I want to see it more than anything. This is my guy, and I really believe that. I really believe that Rob getting that next level was the key to this year's team, because they don't. And again, we talked about this a lot, but I really do think the talent drop from 1 to 2 down to your third best player is enormous now. Without Kemba and without Fournier, that talent drop is really big. You are, for real, you are.
Who is your number 3? I mean, who is that third best?
You are falling to guys who actually might be sixth men. They might be sixth men on a lot of teams, on good teams. Almost everybody outside of the Jays is potentially a sixth man on a lot of other teams, unless it's Rob. And unless it's Rob making a leap with his athleticism and the way his game was trending last year while cleaning up some of the other finer points. Rob is the only one that could have approached all-star status on that team. Everyone else is basically a sixth man. So it is a huge gulf. And that's the problem. And I think that's the biggest problem with this team right now. It's that talent gulf between the top 2 players and everyone else is pretty wide. Yes, it's not Semi Ojeleye, so you're a little bit better there, in terms of who's eating minutes. But it's, again, Fournier and Kemba,
depending on the night,
are way more talented. Kemba, again, he's limited, but they're still way more talented and able to score on their own than anybody they have on this team right now. Way more so. They're not perfect players, but you have a huge gap, particularly on the offensive end on this team, between the top 2 and everybody else. Huge gap, and that's a problem.
Well, I think the gap that exists between those players is what we kind of just talked about with Horford in terms of the minute load that these guys can take on, the responsibility load that these guys can take on at the highest level. I think everything Sherrod said about Horford in that regard is true, but can they ask all this out of Rob night in and night out, like throwing 7 lobs to him a night? Did you see that steal he made along the sideline where they just threw it right up to him after and he just smacked his back off the ground, missing it, and Horford had to clean it up right after? What they're asking out of Rob, 45 minutes on opening night, a ton of things on both ends of the floor, and this one especially, all those alley-oops. There's concern there, I think, too, in some regard, that, on a team that doesn't have much three-point shooting, perimeter spacing, that they're going to be, funneling too many half-court opportunities Rob's way and putting him in danger going up 7 to 10 times a game, if that's all they're going to ask him to do. It's a concern for me.
Yeah.
Because they don't have center depth. Like, we're finding that out quickly here. With Horford limited, Rob playing, his usual 28 to 30 that I think we're going to see from him. They were playing
Lots of
Grant
Williams.
They were playing Grant at center some. And
Yeah,
they
I know,
do
but
not want to
they
look at Cantor at all.
Yeah, but I know they pulled
Well,
Grant
also-
pretty quick because athletically he couldn't keep up with who was on the floor
And
tonight.
Ime still does not trust Aaron Nesmith. So never
You're
mind
not gonna-
him trying to put him at the 4. It's not happening.
No trust in Nesmith, no trust in Cantor. Never mind the deeper guys on the bench that have just been nowhere to be seen. Hernan Gomez, Fernando, Parker.
I think Hernan Gomez is going to get a run here at some point. I mean, because
At
he's able to
center?
touch the floor a bit with outside
No, he
touch.
might have to.
I mean, that's an option. I wouldn't be shocked to see Ime go. When they get back on the road.
He's got some edge
in the next week.
He's got some edge and physicality too, which might be.
I want to
some
see
of the
more.
attitude they need.
He's peaked
I
my
told
interest.
Jimmy
I
this,
wanna
by
see
the
more.
way. I told Jimmy I thought the worst prediction anybody made was him saying that Nesmith was going to distance himself from the kids. I think he's going backwards a little bit.
That was so bad.
because of the
Yeah,
because of the trust issue. I'm giving it to.
You guys think I have the worst takes?
I thought that was a bad one.
Oh, man, Bobby. Yo, you got to tell him that when he comes back. Bobby said
Yeah, I
that.
couldn't believe that one. I couldn't believe that
So
one either when I read it.
Jimmy's
I
bold
still believe
prediction
in
was the
Pritchard.
worst.
It's just going to take some time.
I believe in Romeo.
I'm with you. I don't know what happened to Romeo today. I don't know why he got so tentative. It's like he'd get to a spot or he was in the paint or he'd have the ball.
He's moving too slow and they're flying around him like sharks.
And he was like, what am I supposed to do now? And he stopped a ton. Just play, man. Just go.
He looked like he was thinking way more than we've seen in the
Way
past few
much.
games.
Especially
And
when
we don't need him
because
to
his
think.
first shot,
Just
he hit
play.
that 3 in the corner. He hit that deep 3.
But
and I was like,
anytime
okay,
he got
that was
around
it.
people in a crowded area, he got
He didn't know what to
literally
do.
got paralyzed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
Not
That
a
was
good
just
night
that
for
was.
Romeo.
I'm with you though, Sherrod. I think
I
he's
think it's Toronto, guys. I really do. I think this is a really good defensive team. But that don't get me wrong, doesn't excuse the Celtics for their effort tonight. But at the same
They
time,
held the
I mean,
Wizards down pretty good too.
It makes you think, if top 5 defense, I'm not calling top 5 defense, but for example, right, if a top 5 defense comes into TD Garden, I mean, regardless of how they're playing, it's going to be a close game, a tight game, right, against the Celtics. And you're going to start to look at guys like Tatum and Brown. If one of them has an off night, who's stepping up? Who's going to take those shots? Who can put the ball on the floor and create? And it's slim pickings. I
Look
like
at Dennis
seeing Josh
Schroeder.
Richardson- I like seeing Josh Richardson put the ball on the floor. I'm just like, well, maybe he can somewhat evolve into a more of a secondary scorer.
I'm looking at Schroeder in that regard. Hasn't he been
Josue
underwhelming?
almost ejected himself.
He did.
He's still trying to do it.
Get him out of here.
He's kicking himself out of the club.
Out of the club. All right, we're gonna wrap it up tonight, guys. Any final thoughts here?
Yeah,
No, just better. Go ahead, Bobby.
I was just gonna hit on Schroeder. So underwhelming through 2 games. Can't impact the game with his shooting. He does get into the thick of the defense, but he doesn't distribute great from there.
No,
he's
but
not really this.
He tries to take it to the
creator
basket.
that they need right now. Yeah, he gives you a little something in scoring off the bench, but they need a lot more than what he's giving right now. Just because they don't have much scoring on this team and on the second unit and outside of the Jays, as we talk about.
No,
he's
not at
gonna
all. You
elevate
don't
himself
have it
somewhat.
on the first unit. Forget the second unit. You know
Right.
what I mean? You are again. The scoring depth on this team ends at 2. It's a real concern, and which means again you have to be moving the ball like crazy. Working for shots, work, swing it, move it, and playing great defense every single night to be successful. You cannot have my turn, your turn, ISO ball, disjointed offense situation and a half-ass defense. You can't.
You think double big's gonna last, John?
I've never thought it's gonna last. I would put. I just don't see it.
You know what though? To me, the double bigs hasn't bothered me more than the overall lack of effort. I mean, that's really what we're talking about. I mean, forget about scoring and rebounding and boxing out and all that crap. Play hard. That's what this is coming down to. Play harder. Because if you think you're playing hard now, you're only fooling yourself.
I'm just thinking in terms of adjusting the rotations. maybe you don't try to balance the 2 units as much. Maybe you just pair the best 5 guys who can go together. That means putting Schroeder next to Smart in the starting lineup.
You have to find 5 guys who play hard together.
You do have to figure it
Because
out,
right
whatever
now,
it
they've
is.
got 2 or 3 here, 2 or 3 there, and it's like you need to mash those together and get the guys that give you great effort. I mean, tonight was a night where Josh Richardson, I thought, was really good when he was in there. He scored 4 for 4 on threes, but he was also attacking offensively, which kind of opened things up and loosened up that Toronto defense a little bit. Yeah. You need to have guys who are going to not wait around for the moment and create the moment instead.
Jason Tatum has still not talked to the media, by the way.
Good.
Anyway,
right on time.
Josue, we're gonna wrap. Final thoughts.
Well, I was gonna ask you, is that gonna be a new thing? You were saying that. Are you trying to say that's like a diva attitude or something? Like, what do you mean when you say these things?
We've seen it. We've seen it with players in the past. It is what it is. Sherrod and I, how many locker rooms have we waited in for KG or Rondo?
Well, guys? Paul Pierce is in the building tonight. So
yeah, Pierce.
That's how you know you're a superstar, right? When you wait.
Hey,
wait, right?
There's a decent chance tonight I hop on that bus with the Raptors and go cover that team for the rest of the year.
Where's our girl? Is it Annie? Where's Annie? Annie, take Bobby. Take Bobby.
By decent chance, Bobby's putting in requests right now.
This looks like a more fun team to cover.
They are.
The Knicks look fun too.
Stop trying to grow your fan base up north. All right, Bobby. Easy.
I have.
No, this team's the real deal, don't defense. They're a really good defensive team.
Well, it's their length and it's in the fact that they got a lot of guys who have played together. So they've got that connectivity. Whereas the Celtics, you've got a lot of guys who are still trying to learn how to play together, and they're trying to play a different brand of defense where you're switching everything. Whereas they're used to not playing that type of defense. And
they should have destroyed the Raptors. The Raptors are young.
Yeah.
They don't have their point guys. They're veterans. They're ones who are going to hold it down out there. They got out-scrapped by a couple of young guys who are playing really hard. That was
pretty freaking bad. Pretty bad. Yeah. All right, guys, we are going to kill it. We're going to wrap it, I think.
My final thought in.
Go.
No, it's my fault. I was procrastinating. So I think obviously this rotation is not set yet. I wouldn't be shocked if you see a little experimenting more, whether that means Hernan Gomez.
I want to see Bruno.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd like to see Bruno come in there like a bull in a china shop.
Matter of fact, I'm buying some Bruno stock tonight.
Yeah, I mean,
part of
that
the
front court's got
a good decision.
We have to address this front court, and I think that's tinkering with the rotation
and the back court and the mid court.
You're going up a team. You're going up against.
And the sideline, the whole squad.
You're going up against a team on Sunday. You're going against a team.
That new head coach. We're keeping an eye on you. All right.
You're going up against a team on Sunday in Houston that you're going to be able to throw some bigs out there too on, because they got 2 guys on the floor, Wood, Sengun, who they're going to be doing a lot through their bigs. So Celtics can try to experiment with some of their big guys.
I want to see that. I like what Josue said. I want to see Juancho. I want to see Bruno. I want to see guys come in there and friggin' muck it up a little bit. I want some toughness. I want some guys. Yeah, I want some guys who are going to play. Play a little.
I could care less if Bruno picks up 3 fouls in 30 seconds. You know what? I don't care.
Just go be a friggin' animal for a little bit.
I want to see.
Be that bull in the china shop if it has to come to that.
I want to see Juancho and Al together. See what that looks like. Maybe, like that's the type of mixing, experimenting I think could bode well for this team, especially because they do have a bit of a relationship. They have a connection outside of Boston, and for them to come back on this team, and of course, you look at someone like Schroeder, right? And I was concerned about this in preseason. This holding the ball for too long, dribbling around, like when he's scoring and being productive, it looks good. But when you get this Schroeder, it makes me wonder if he's completely in on trying to involve everyone into the offense.
He seems indecisive.
Yeah, he seems indecisive. Exactly.
Nobody knows what they're supposed to be doing right now. Yeah.
Yeah, but those type of veterans, like we were talking about big because of that. That's what this team was missing last year. Guys like
and he's having too many flashbacks to when him and Al were in Atlanta, because that damn lob to Al, don't do it. Stop that. Al's not that dude.
You can find some chemistry there. And if you got Pritchard and Rob coming off the bench, there's some chemistry there too. You got to mix and match some different ways now. Like that, I think the two lineups they have going now are a bit too disjointed. You got Schroeder and Richardson in the backcourt off the bench, who neither of them can shoot, neither are great creators. There's just you might be right, John. This double big just might not last because they don't have bigs behind them. They can't shuffle guys.
That was always my issue. Is there's nowhere to go after that. You're in no man's land. Grant, I'm sorry, it doesn't work as your primary big, especially against
at 100%. Didn't we think Grant was going to have 0 minutes?
At big look, no, it's just he can't be your first guy off the bench. It messes with your rotations badly when you don't have a big that you can rely on coming in off that bench on that bench unit. It's a real mess. They don't have the depth. But right now, you're right. They got problems. We knew there'd be growing pains in terms of who does what, which combos work together. Ime's defense, different system, different style. Absolutely. You'd expect that. So you'd expect more games like you had on night 1 than night 2. I didn't expect this at all. I'm definitely very alarmed. We'll see what happens on the next game. But like I said, you start to string a couple of these together, you've got some real questions about the team. So we'll see. Again, we are going to wrap it because, the Bull Gang is, wants its pound of flesh out there, and these guys are under attack. So Bobby just
I can go downstairs.
Bobby
go
Josue
downstairs right now and be right on time for Tatum.
Bobby Josue, if you guys want to jump in on Tatum and do whatever it is you want to do. Sherrod, again, thank you for joining. Everybody at home as well. Thanks for hanging out. We're back on Sunday. I will be out. I think the rest of the crew will be in. I've got some Patriots responsibilities, but also make sure, check us out over at our Patriots YouTube channel as well for all of that coverage. Also, Red Sox fighting for their playoff lives. We do have Red Sox YouTube channel. We have our content there. If you haven't already, please subscribe. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers right now, and we'd really love to hit that mark before the playoffs end. And
done.
The playoffs could be over in like 15 minutes. So run up. Red Sox Clubhouse.
That. Stop.
Huh?
Damn it, John.
Yeah.
You and your damn negativity.
I mean they're down to a few outs, man. It's close. It's we're running out of time. So head on over there and subscribe to that channel as well. Of course, follow Bobby Manning and all of his musings over at CLNS Media. Josue Pavon for Heavy.com. Sherrod Blakely, Full Court Press, and Bleacher Report as well. So make sure you subscribe to Full Court Press. Yeah. Subscribe. Sherrod, what's the website again?
There we go. fullcourtpress.bulletin.com.
Yeah.
Now, I actually talked to Danny Ainge for a little bit before the game today, and that's up there, as well as some other musings from tonight.
Good. You know what's funny is Josue's Wi-Fi messing up over and over again somehow turned all of your names into Josue. I just noticed it.
It's probably
Well done,
Josue. Coming back. I
know you kept coming back,
I thought
and
it was
you
just
renamed
Sherrod.
everybody Josue. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up,
Josue's
guys.
We're just
Josue.
passing through.
Nothing wrong with that.
At
All right.
Joe
Good night, all.
_Sway, guys. Give him a follow.
Thank you guys.